You know, my wife said to me this morning, 40 years, my present to you is to let you know that I've been investing 40 years into your life. And I am trusting someday soon I will get a return. Do you think she said that? When you get to 40 years of marriage, I try to think back to the actual day. And the longer you go, the less you can remember. But I still do remember some things. I do remember her coming down the aisle. I do remember the ministers that married us. Remember the place. But the thing that stands out most in my mind was the night before. In those days, we did marriages differently than they do today. It was a lot more do-it-yourself. And it only cost us $2,000. But $2,000 was worth a lot more in those days than it is today. I remember coming here and petrol was 33 cents a litre. It's a lot more than that now, isn't it? So money value has changed. But on the day before the wedding, we had to rush around, or at least I had to rush around and do everything, dropping food off to the student flats where they were cooking the different dishes for the wedding meal afterwards. And at the end of it, I remember being in Gion's flat at the end before I just went home. And I said to her, I am never doing this again. And I think she quite agreed with us. So 40 years. And yeah, there will be a few more. I trust and hope. You know, when I was thinking about this message, 40 years of marriage, I got to say, at least I'd be a fool to say that our marriage is perfect. No one disagrees with me? But I can say, in some ways, we have done some things the right way. My wife often points out the faults and shortfalls in my life. She hasn't got any, so I never do it to her. My children are not short of doing that as well. And also, their wives have also invested that into me as well. So it's been a wonderful journey. They're all good at letting me know that I'm not living up to their expectations. So I want to say we're not perfect, but we've enjoyed the journey. I want to talk today out of that on the subject of building a good foundation in your life. You know, when Jesus comes to the Sermon on the Mount, you remember the sermon where he goes, there's a big crowd there, he goes and he gathers his disciples, goes up the mountain and gathers around his followers, not the whole crowd. And he starts to teach them, and it's called the Sermon on the Mount. It's found in Matthew chapter 7, chapter 5, 6, 7, I think it is. It's the time when he starts to invest in these men and start to lay a foundation for them for success. You know, if you look at the Bible and foundations, there is definitely two types of foundations. One of those foundations is the foundation for the church. The other one is a foundation for your own personal life. The Sermon on the Mount is definitely there for your personal life. It is a foundation on which we are to build if we want to have successful lives. Amen? And at the end of it, he says this, in chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. And I'll read it, I think. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on the house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who builds his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. This is about personal foundations. And he says this, anyone then who hears these words. Many people take it that all the words that Jesus spoke are for our foundation. Maybe it's true, but in this case, Jesus is identifying the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, as these words that are to make a foundation for our lives. So it behoves us to go and look at them. And you all think we're going to look at them today, don't you? We're not. But they are very important. The only problem with some of it, the language can make it very difficult to really understand them. But there is still a lot there. So it's important to understand in the building of relationships, there is a foundation. And if we don't understand that foundation or build upon that foundation, we will have problems. When I take a marriage, and there have been many that I've taken over the last few years, I was just thinking of the noise in this church, of the little ones. And you can say, well, it's my fault. I married the parents. And they stayed in the church, which I expect them to, and now there's all these little kids. It's fantastic, isn't it? A little bit of noise doesn't hurt anyone, right? Amen? Oh, good. So those who are getting frustrated with the noise, well, it's great. How do I get onto that? I don't know. Yeah, I did the marriages, but when I do a marriage, if you listen to it, if you don't get them, I actually say the same thing to everyone. Have you noticed that? Or you just really don't listen to it, so you didn't know. It's all fresh again. But one thing that I tell people, if you're getting married and you're thinking it's going to be just a smooth ride, you're in for a big surprise. They say love covers a multitude of sins, but there are still problems. There are still issues you have to work out. There are still storms that will come into your marriage. Maybe not from your partner, but from some other source. It will come, maybe from your partner as well. Okay, go that way. I'll move away. Someone said something. Oh, I heard it. Someone down there. I didn't hear what they said. That's the problem. Just remember, I'm preaching, not you. So be quiet. But what I want you to know is that there are storms. There are things that happen in our marriages, and we need to be capable to not just withstand them, to see that we grow through them. Amen? And so I want us to look today at this foundation. It's interesting when you look at it. You know, today when you build a house, you don't look for rock, do you? We actually build on concrete. But in those days, you build on the rock. So the first thing you had to do is find out where the rock is, right? Because you don't move rock, it's there. You build on the rock, or sand, you build on the sand. It is where you locate yourself. And so it says the two differences is this man chose to build on this situation. You know what we look at today for building, and that is aspect. You know, does it look nice here? You know, marriage is built on a right foundation. There is a series going out now, you know what it's called? Australia's Social Experiment. Have you heard about it? The ads are on TV all the time. I refuse to watch them, but I see the ads. It is ridiculous when two people who have never seen each other before come and get married. Now, I think in a culture where that is norm, that's not a problem. But what intrigues me in this is the comments from various ones on the show. What are they looking for? Oh, one said, this girl is only how many pounds, and she has no earlobes. I mean, good grief. What does that have to do with building a relationship? You understand what I'm saying? And I look at that and say, the world doesn't seem to have any idea what really works or doesn't work for a relationship. Amen? See, if my wife wasn't happy with grey hair, I would be in trouble. But actually, the colour of my hair doesn't change our relationship. Is that right, Aldo? Amen. The colour of your hair does not change your relationship. Better that you're not here, did you say? Oh. Okay. I think that program in general is a recipe for disaster. Jesus likens the building of a house to the foundation of a house is to the foundation of relationship. And we stand or fall on that relationship. Okay. I've said all that. Now, okay, I want to talk about three things today, which I believe are important in building a relationship. Now, firstly, I want to say there is more than three things, but we've only got a certain amount of time. Someone says that your head only takes in as much as your backside can stand. So, actually, yeah, your seat stand, your backside, this thing, your gluteus maximus. You want to know what it's called. Okay, that's the first thing. So we're going to cover three this morning, and I think there are three very important ones in that. To understand on the building of a relationship. The first one I call truthfulness. You see, if you're building a relationship, the key ingredient is trust. If you don't trust someone, how can you build a relationship, right? So trust is what you need to build, or you can destroy it. So we want to look today at how you build trust. Someone said this, it's an illustration of leadership, but it's also an illustration of relationship. Every one of us has some coins in our pocket. And I'm not talking about money. Each one of us has got some coins. Every time we do something that will attack trust, it's like we lose one of those coins. And we can do that for a period of time, but the day we end up with no coins in our pocket, trust has gone. Relationship is destroyed. You understand? So just because you do something, you say, oh, it's all over now. No, it's not. You still have some coins in your pocket. Your key is to learn how to grow the coins in your pocket so that you build trust in a relationship. You know what they say? The statistics say that the average marriage in Australia lasts for 10 years. We've gone a little bit past that, so we're doing okay. 10 years. Why? Simply this. We have forgotten to learn to build trust. So the first thing that we need to have is what I call truthfulness. Okay, there's a song, and it's an old song. Trevor, you might know this one. Sorry, you don't think so? You haven't heard it yet. I'll read it out because I can't sing. From one little kiss and a lot of love, and you build a big mansion of love, high on a hill of happiness, and someone there you've been dreaming of. You build a wall around with a lot of love, all around your mansion of love. Then one day you hear a strange little sound trying to tear your mansion down, and it says, chip, chip, you tell a little lie. Chip, chip, you make your baby cry. Chip, chip, you cheat a little bit. Chip, chip, you quarrel over it. One day you're going to discover one little wrong leads to another. chipping away at your mansion of love. Anyone know that song?
Sing it.
Sorry?
Sing it.
That's the quickest way to empty the church. But the song has got some interesting meaning. You know, one little lie, you're chipping away at your mansion of love. You're chipping away at the relationship you have built. That's the first thing. And so I want us to look at this. You know, the Bible puts it another way in Song of Solomon 2, verse 15. Song of Solomon is the book of love. A Jewish man was not allowed to read it till he was 30 years old because it was too steamy. Now, young men, not yet 30. It says, catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyard, for our vineyards are in blossom. What's he saying? Catch the little foxes, because they are destroying our vineyards. It's the little things that are your problems, not the big things. You take care of the little things and the big things will take care of themselves. There's a Scottish proverb, it's similar, and it's because you know how the Scots are, they tight with their money. It says take care of the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves. Pennies and pounds like cents and dollars. Okay, just thought you'd know that. So it's the small things the Bible says that you have to look at. You know, just recently, a young man has seen his relationship with his girlfriend totally destroyed. And it's a sad thing. But when you look at it, the issue is not just now when the girlfriend left, but it is what was done before that, because there were lies. There were things that were not true that were said. And he continued to try and win her back by not telling the truth. In a situation like that, it is a recipe for disaster. They're telling lies. None of us have done it here, have we? You want to hear one that I did? Even the pastor. Just happened recently. Ben and Joy came back from Vietnam on Friday, and I had to pick them up from the airport. And so I get out and I'm going down there, so you know, I worked my time out, so I just had enough time to get there so I wouldn't have to wait 3 hours at the airport and get a big bill. So I get there, I'm going down the M5, getting near the airport, and suddenly I realise I have left Joy's car seat at home. Oh, bother. I don't have time to go back. If I get there, I've got to pick her up and she's got to sit without her seat. And I could be in trouble. Couldn't I? So, now Joy's not too short. She's reasonably high. So we get into the car and I sit down and I said, now Joy, how bad I am. I said, if we are stopped by the police, you tell the police you're 8 years old. Just imagine a pastor doing that. So, can I share with you? I've got one person leaving the church already. So I'm saying, it's not something that anyone can say, look, we've never done it. No, I didn't lie, she didn't lie because the police didn't stop us. So, sure, but no, what I was doing was not right. And I was teaching her to lie. That is very bad, isn't it? So it's willing to lie. So, okay. So what is your definition of lying, of a lie? Something that you say to deceive someone else. You see, you could say Jesus lied. You know, Jesus said the smallest seed is what? Mustard seed. Is the mustard seed the smallest seed? No. There are orchids which are smaller. So did Jesus lie? No, he didn't, because one, in those days they didn't have the technology to see the size of the orchid seed. Secondly, he was not trying to deceive people by saying that. So he didn't lie. But in the context of his day, people understood that the mustard seed was the smaller seed. And so that's not lying. What I did was definitely not good. Okay, very bad. So my wife found out straight away. Yes, Joy told her. Shh, I'm preaching. You can tell them all later. James 5:12 says this. But above all, my brothers, do not swear either by heaven or by earth or by any oath, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. You know, there's a day in business when you said something and then you shook hands and it was done. Today, you need it all in writing and signed by a lawyer. Because our yes doesn't mean yes and our no doesn't mean no. Proverbs 19 verse 22. What is desired in a man is steadfast love. And a poor man is better than a liar. So all those who don't lie and are poor, great, you're there. Okay. So the scripture puts a high issue on telling truth. I could go on this, but I've said enough to show that. So, our word should be our bond. But, and we should always tell the truth. Do you agree with that? Yes. So when your wife comes to you and says, do I look fat in this dress? Men, what are you going to say? Yeah. Wow. The pastor told me to tell the truth. There are ways of putting it. You could say, well, honey, I think you look better in the other dress that you wore last week and you've worn for 6 years. Oh, sorry, no. You understand? There's ways of putting it. The hardest one is when she looks at you and says, have I put on weight? You know how to get out of that one without lying? You say, honey, I've lived with you all these years. You can't tell the difference. It's someone who hasn't seen you for a while might be able to determine that one. But if you really want to know, we can get the scales and you can have a look and see whether you put on weight. Right? So we can get out of it, guys, without lying. You understand? Good. Just want to get that through, that there is a way of presenting information that is not lying, that will enhance your marriage. Just thought I'd let you know that. So, no, I'm not going to go. Just, you understand? So, but there's another one. Now, for many of us, we come from cultures where face is important. It really intrigues me here because some people come from a very high face culture. You don't understand. You do not want to look bad in front of, and you don't want someone else to look bad as well. So you've got to be careful how you do things. I love it when we were first here. Please, I'm not picking on any ethnic group here, but it was really interesting. We would invite Vietnamese to come to a party or come to something, and they say, will you come? They say, yes, we'll come. And the time came and they weren't there. And suddenly, after a while, we learned about this thing called a Vietnamese yes, which doesn't mean yes. It means maybe. Okay, so it was something I hadn't known about. So, because they didn't want us to lose face by saying no, and they didn't want to lose face, so they say yes, but it doesn't mean yes. Everyone in that culture knows. The same as if you go to a wedding, a Vietnamese wedding, we learned too. The wedding time was 6 o'clock. We went there at 6 o'clock. We had 2 hours of company by ourselves before the rest of the guests arrived. We learned 6 o'clock does not mean 6 o'clock. It means 8 o'clock. You understand? Now we were ignorant I was an ignorant white person, so what do you expect? So we learned as we went along, but there is things like this that we have. But we have people in this church who tell you straight to your face that we don't have any. Do we have any Dutch people here? No, that's good. The Dutch people, they will tell you straight to your face what they think. It can be really interesting, but very different to many cultures. So you have this thing. Now, the one thing I note, where Christianity has been established in the culture and is influencing the culture, they are more yes means yes and no means no. But where it is not, there is a lot of variation. So what should we do as Christians? Do we flow with the culture, or do we change to become yes and no people? There is a parable, not a parable, there is a time in the Bible, we were studying it in our home group, and it's found in Matthew 11, verses 27 to 33. Sorry, Mark, yes? Oh, I got Matthew, yes, Mark, sorry, 11. Sorry, translators, it's Mark, not Matthew. And it's a very interesting one because Jesus has just gone into the temple and cleaned it out. He wasn't spring cleaning. That money turners, the money exchangers, those selling stuff in the temple, he overturned their tables, he kicked them out, and made this comment that my house shall be a house of prayer for all ethnos. You have made it a den of thieves. And then, after that, the next time he came to the temple, the chief priest and scribes, the teachers of the law, come to him and ask him this question: by whose authority did you do these things? Now, I love Jesus' answer. He said, I'll ask you a question. If you answer me this question, then I will answer you your question. And he said this to them. He said, was John the Baptist from God or man? Now, they've been asked a question. Are they going to answer the question truthfully or not? Is right or wrong an issue for these men? If you look at it, they don't just answer them, they discuss it amongst themselves. So they said that if we answer the question and say, yes, he is from God, then the question will arise, then why aren't you following what he has taught? But if we answer no, he comes from man, then all the people are going to be against us because they think he's from God. So we can't answer yes or no, because if we do, we will be in problems. We will lose face. So we say we don't know. Now my question to you, what was the criteria for them answering the question? It was how they would be positioned. Has nothing to do with the questions. You know, they would make great politicians. Think about it. You know, in our political world, do you believe there is such a thing as an honest politician? It's very hard to find. It's very hard to find. And we expect that, and when we accept that as the norm, I didn't say we accept it to be okay, but we accept that as the norm. But these men were positioning themselves not to lose face or not to lose something in what they said. My question to you and to me is, when we operate on the issue of face and not wanting someone to, not wanting our face to be affected or not wanting their face to be affected, are we not doing just what the chief priests and the teachers of the law were doing? Not operating in truth. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. I don't know anything else other than, well, I know many other, some other things, but I want to say truth is very important in building a relationship. You see, if someone can't trust you, everything you say is going to be questioned. So if you have built on the foundation of a lie and of telling lies to cover up your situation, you will never build a healthy relationship. Whether it be marriage, whether it be friendship, whatever it is, you need to build trust. Someone said this: trust should never be given, it should be earned. You need to watch a person before you can see whether I can trust that person. Because if you trust a person, you are going to open your lives to that person. And that makes you vulnerable. Amen? We got that so far? Because we have lost this, and our models in the world do not build on the value of truthfulness, I wonder whether that is part of the reason why marriages today are only lasting 10 years on average, because we have destroyed that. The second one is what I call openness. I enjoy the Star Wars movies, the trilogy. I enjoy them. I just hope I can see the last two, because I'm getting on. I'm 64 this year. So if they don't do them soon, I might not be able to remember them. I'm 64 still. I'm not yet 65. I'm still 64. Don't make me older than I am. In number 7 of the Star Wars, I love this bit when I saw it. This really stuck in my mind. It's the one, The Force Awakens, not the very recent, but the one before that. Han Solo turns to the young guy, Finn, who's I think he's an African anyway. I don't know what background. Well, in those days it's some other planet. And says to him this, he says, "You have another problem. Women always figure out the truth." And I thought, oh, isn't that so classic? Those who've been married long enough know what that's like. You think you can hide something? No. They will always figure it out. Have you found that to be true? If you haven't, you're in for an exciting experience, something happening to you in, should I say, the very near future. And I thought that was a classic statement. Openness and not hiding things is something that affects relationship. You know, my children say that I can't keep a secret. When Mona was first pregnant, they told us that they said they were quite surprised. I knew it before they announced it to the rest of the family, and they were quite surprised I hadn't told anyone in the family that this was my first grandson or grandchild at that time. See, I can't keep a secret. See, I can't keep a secret because I didn't tell anyone. But I am not someone who keeps areas of my life hidden. As you found out today when I told you about Joy and my situation there. I don't hide things. And you want to build a good relationship. My wife doesn't hide anything. She tells me everything. Whether I like it or not, she tells me. But openness is something that will build a healthy relationship. Where there is areas that are closed, it is very difficult to build. You see, you can't close off one area of your life and expect to build a wonderful relationship with the other areas of your life with some other person. Something is missing. Often we do it because we have been hurt or something has happened to us, and that we say, I never want to be hurt again. I can remember a time in my life when my best friend, this is not my wife, she is my best friend, but another best friend. I was his best man at his wedding, and he was my best man at my wedding. I said some naughty things about him, and he had the opportunity to say some naughty things about me, and he did it very, very well. He was a great speaker, and he had everyone just about rolling on the floor laughing. It was so good. We went to Malaysia, and we were involved in the church there for a while, and there something happened between the two of us where I got extremely hurt, and we came back, and I said to myself, I will never work with this man again. He's actually come and preached in this church, at least twice. And I had to go through a journey because I closed off part of my life because I got hurt. And I had to come to the place where I was prepared to open up again, because I could not do anything until that happened. Because you close to one person, you just don't close to one person, you close your life, and it affects everything. And you have to deal with it. I've noticed ones who get hurt with some one person, and all of a sudden they draw back from everyone. They build with no one until they become very lonely people. And it's very difficult to break into their lives and help them, because they have put the walls up, and only when they are prepared to take the wall down will they move forward from their prison. Understand? And so, dealing with those issues in our lives is what is important if we are to build a relationship or to build trust between other people. Because we don't trust someone, therefore we cannot build on the foundation of trust. I remember coming to the place with this guy through the journey that God took me, and it wasn't that I had to confront him, I had to deal with areas of weakness in my life. When I came to the issue, the major issue was this, is that I was not trusting God financially. I was actually looking to this guy to help financially, because he gave his word that he would do certain things for us. When the time came, he withdrew, and it hurt. But the real issue was not that. The real issue is that I had not come to the place where I could trust God financially. And I remember coming back from Malaysia with $50 to our name. That's all we had. And we had a commitment to Children's Family of an amount far larger than that each month. And God took me on a journey, and the journey was that I could not find work for so long. Several years, I was unable to find work. Yet, in that time, we were able to meet our commitment to Children's Family. We were able to buy a house. We were able to establish ourselves back in New Zealand. And it wasn't because we were on social welfare. I have never once taken money from the government. God showed me He is faithful. There came a day when I said I actually could work again with this friend of mine if it so happened that we were able to connect like that. I could have done it again and been comfortable and honestly able to relate. In fact, we did that. I told him the issue. I wrote him a 13-page letter and told him what happened and why I left. So we were open in that way, but relationship was restored. Openness is so important. If you don't do it in our relationships, then we are going to find trust is eroded and relationships are destroyed. Amen? Now, it's interesting when you come to Matthew 7, verses 21 to 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of God, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name, and then will I declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. When you read that, you think, wow, you mean to say people who've been working for God for so long and done so many amazing things may end up in the place where God will say, I never knew you? Relationship and openness. You see, just as we may have a problem with each other, we can also have a problem with God where we can lock out God from our lives in relationship. It is the relationship which is the most important. Amen? The last one. No prizes for guessing what it is. Last one is love. You know our problem in our English language? We have one word for love, and it has many different meanings. So when you think about when the Bible talks about love, what meaning does it take? Fortunately, in the original text, there are 4 different words for love. You know, we use one word for snow. What we used to call Eskimos, they're called something else now anyway, I forget the name. They have 15 different words for snow. And I think to myself, why do you need 15 different words for snow? Snow, snow. But snow is not snow. There's many different types. The same here with love. There is 4 words. Now, it's not just a matter of knowing how you use that word to understand it. You know, words change over time. Did you know that? In my day, if you said, boy, that person's gay, you would not be thinking what you're thinking now. Because in my day, the word meant that person's happy. He's gay, he's happy. Then as I grew up, there came a time when it had another meaning. Still had the meaning happy, but it also had the meaning of being someone who is homosexual. Nowadays, the happy side of the word gay is gone, isn't it? No young person today, if you use the word gay, thinks of someone who's happy. It is now means only someone who has a homosexual meaning. Isn't that right? He's gay. So that's how it is. The word has changed over 30, 40 years and has completely now a new meaning. So words happen like that, they change. And so also different words for love in the Greek have changed. So what you need to know is, what did the word mean when it was used in the first century world? There are 4. The first one is eros. You know what that means? That means it's where you get the word erotic, sexual, physical focus of love. The second one is storge. Do you know what storge means? If you say, I love my house, are you in love with it? What you mean is you like it. I really like it so much that I love it. That's storge. I would say, I love my farm. It's fantastic. But I wouldn't compare it to my wife. It's not the same meaning when I say I love my wife and I love my farm. It is different. It's storge is what the word means. That's what it means. The third one is the word agape. In the first century world, it had 2 meanings. Now, many people think the word agape is created by the church to represent God's love. No. It was a word used in those days. But it had a meaning which they could take and use that expressed God's love. And it means this. It has 2 meanings. It means related to someone more closely than another, and that you are warmly involved with that person, but not with sexual expression. Agape love. That you see, how do I put it? Willie and me, we have agape love. But I don't have that same, we associate it. I have an association with my, the person who makes where I go and get my bread for my lunch. But it's not agape love, it's just a normal relationship. There's a greater, deeper relationship. So that's what we're talking about. But no sexual expression is what it says. Okay, the other one is you care for someone so much that you will care for them even at cost to yourself. That is the meaning that the church chose for us to understand God's love. God loved us so much that he would care for us even when it cost him. Cost him his son to love us, didn't it? Cost him more than most of us would consider doing for someone else. But that is agape love. And the love that the Bible talks about is that kind of love, where we give even when it costs us, because that is what true love is. And then there's one more, phileo. In those days, phileo it had been a bit like agape, but it had become something more. So they didn't choose phileo for all the times when they translated the Bible, more agape, but times phileo was used. It has a similar meaning to agape, but it also meant with a kiss. In other words, there's some sexual connotation with the word phileo. Friendship with a sexual connotation. Where agape, no sexual connotation. What's the word again? A connotation. I was going to say accommodation. I thought that's not right. Okay. So that whole idea is that we care for someone more than ourselves, and we are prepared to do something even at cost. 1 John 4:7-12. John is known as the disciple that leaned on Jesus' chest. He was the closest of all the disciples, and there was a relationship, an agape relationship that had developed between the two of them. And he writes this, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love, or agape, does not know God, because God is agape." In this, the love or agape of God was made manifest amongst us, that God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. And this is agape, not that we have loved God, but that he loves us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if God has so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfect in us. Amen? So John is saying here simply this: the kind of love that God had for us is to be the love that we are to express to each other. If we only give according to how much we can get out of it, we are not operating in the love of God. It is when we give over and above that costs us and there is no point of return, that shows the agape love of God. I'm always intrigued when we do an offering and people get up and they logically try and encourage people to give because God's going to give back to you, and you're going to be blessed. And I think that's fine. But hey, would you give if it cost you and there is no return to you at all? Or is it, no, I want to return on this. This is my investment. I want to return. My wife's still waiting for her return after 40 years. Keep hoping, dear. You might get it yet. But is not the love of God such that he gave, not thinking of return? If we are his children, if we are to express who God is, then our lifestyle should be a lifestyle where we give to others, to God, without considering, well, am I going to make a return on this? My family are all accountants, and they look at the return, but not in lifestyle, only on paper. In lifestyle, it is not accounting practice. It is God's agape love. Amen? If we build that, if we build openness, if we build truthfulness, you will build relationships that will stand the test of not just time, but the storms that come against us. Like that house, when the storm comes, you will stand firm. Amen? Let us pray. Father, we come to you. We thank you today that you have called us to be relationship builders. Lord, you've called us to invest time, resources, heart, passion, everything, Father, into building relationships. Because when it boils down, the only thing we take with us are the relationships we have formed with those who are part of your family. Lord, I pray, Father, that we might be rich. We might be rich in relationships so that we can grow together